Everything in moderation is one of the biggest lies we've been told. And if you fall for that, it's going to keep you sick, it's going to keep you stuck, and you will never know what it's like to experience true health. I can tell you that from experience because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been extremely sick and I've been in the most optimal health of my life. And I can tell you that once you've experienced optimal health, you will never want to go back. And if you fall for that and you currently believe that everything in moderation is totally fine and it's okay to consume hyper-processed food full of 100 ingredients, 50% or better of which are probably extremely horrible for your health. If you believe that it's okay to consume that food and you'll be totally fine as long as you consume that food in moderation, there's a few things that's going to happen. Number one, you're going to continue to spend your money on an industry that doesn't give a crap about you. The only reason they want you to buy their product is so that you contribute to their bottom dollar and you make them rich. And that's why they make the products extremely addictive and hyper palatable, so that you keep coming back and you buy them over and over and over again. And that's bad enough, but then on top of that, the swimmer down here, you're also causing maybe a small amount, but you're causing detriment to your health every single time you consume those foods, because the stuff in those foods are not things humans are meant to consume. They're not things humans have ever consumed, and every single time you put those in your body, it's going to have a negative effect on your health. And again, it might be very, very minor, it might be very minute, but keep in mind that a lot of stuff that is in these foods is bioaccumulative. So you have it, you know, a couple times a week, but those couple times a week, it's slowly building up in your body over time. And then eventually, once you reach a certain threshold, it's going to really have a negative impact on your health. It's going to cause things like low-grade inflammation. Most of these things are endocrine disruptors, so it's going to lead to poor metabolic function, hormone disruption, and a lot of things that you don't want happening to you. So I want you to imagine for a second. Take the idea of everything in moderation. All right, now imagine yourself every single morning you wake up, you drink a glass of water, and intentionally you have a bottle of arsenic, and you take that bottle of arsenic and you drop just a couple drops full of arsenic into your water intentionally, and you drink that down, knowing that there's no benefit from doing this. You know, you're not going to gain anything from it, but this is an additive that would be in your food, so you're okay consuming that. So just go ahead and do that. I want you to imagine you doing that every single day, and I want you to imagine not having a negative health impact from that. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that pretty much everybody watching this video would not do that. Nobody is going to add arsenic to their water and drink it intentionally. So if you're not willing to do that to yourself, why in the world would you let someone else do it to you? Is it just because you don't have oversight of it? And out of sight, out of mind, you know, they're adding this stuff in there. I don't have to see it, I don't taste it, and I'm kind of blind to it, so it's okay. So if that's the mindset you have, it might be beneficial for you to reframe that in the way I just described, because if you're not willing to do it to yourself, and that goes for any of the ingredients that are in these hyper-processed foods, then you shouldn't let somebody else do it for you either, especially not a mega corporation that is literally out to get money from you, all in the name of profit and greed, because that's the only reason they make these foods. And I know there's an argument out there that's like, you can't fear everything, and you know, a lot of people will say that it's just fear-mongering if you bring this kind of stuff up, but to me, it's not fear-mongering. It's just that the truth is kind of hard to accept, because the truth is so bad, it actually really makes you uncomfortable. And I know when I started learning a lot of this crap, it made me very uncomfortable, because I couldn't believe that there were people out there that we kind of hold trust in and we think have our best interest in mind, or kind of looking out for us, to discover all that's a lie, and that they're actually not looking out for us, and they kind of let all this stuff slide under the radar, and they allow the population to get poisoned. Essentially, that's a pretty hard thing to accept, and it really does make you truly uncomfortable. So I think in most cases, it's good that this stuff's scary. You should be fearful of these foods, and it's not fear-mongering, it's just that the truth kind of sucks. But that's the reality of the world we live in, and until we stop supporting these industries and buying these foods, it's not going to change. And you know, the greatest thing about this is that we have options. And that's the other big point, is that why in the world would you choose to eat these foods that contain all this crap that are known to destroy people's health and to make them obese and overweight and cause metabolic dysfunction, when there are other options? It's not like these are the only foods we have access to or the only foods we can consume. There are still natural whole foods out there, and there are a lot of local family-owned businesses that are very eager to have you as a customer and would be happy to sell you the food that they produce, whether it be meat, vegetables, fruit. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a lot of people out there trying to sell that food. They have a hard time competing with these industries that are making this hyper-processed slop. So to have that mindset, everything in moderation, to me is just a coping mechanism. That's just looking for an excuse to continue to consume the hyper-processed food because it's good. Because the addictive properties that they have built into the food and engineered into the food are working extremely well and are doing exactly what they are designed to do, which is make you want to eat them and completely disregard your health and continue to consume them, even though you know deep down that these foods are not good for you. And that right there is a true testament to just how addictive these foods actually are and how good of a job they've done at engineering these foods to be that addictive. Because if you have hundreds of thousands or millions of people worth of evidence around you, considering 73% of the entire US population is overweight or obese, but you're still willing to consume these foods and cope by saying everything in moderation and it's totally fine, that really shows how good they are at what they do. And that should be even more reason to not opt for these foods, because if they'll go to those lengths to create them to be that addictive, then they will stop at nothing to make sure you eat them. And your health is not a factor, because they do not care about you. They don't care about your health. It's all about the bottom dollar. But at the end of the day, it's totally up to you. You have to do what's best for you. Just understand that nobody's forcing you to eat these foods, and there are other options out there. So you have to weigh the pros and cons here. You could either consume this food, which is going to give you, 15 minutes of mouth pleasure, and if that 15 minutes of mouth pleasure is worth your health potentially being destroyed later on down the road, go for it. That's your prerogative. But for most people out there that are sick, people that are part of that 73% of the population, or actually, let's push it even further, people that are part of that 93.2% of the population that is metabolically unhealthy, those people are looking for a way out. They're looking for a way to improve their health. And I can tell you from experience that you will not achieve that until you get away from these hyper-processed foods, or pretty much any food that comes from big industry. And if you can't get completely away from them, which sometimes it is impossible to do that, reducing that as much as possible is going to have profound benefits on your overall health. So I think it's past time that we just continue to accept things the way they are. We need to start pushing back on these industries and let them know that what they are doing is unacceptable and we will not stand for it. And it really all boils down to a simple question that you have to ask yourself. And that is, what side of history do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the side of history that just accepts things for the way they are and allows the health of our country to continue to spiral out of control? Or do you want to be on the side of history that tries to make a difference? And even if we failed, at least we can say we tried. I don't know about you, but I know what side of history I want to be on.